replicate the alpinism of the 50s or the 20s, where the expedition was really the only one. No one on the mountain, a real adventure, a real exploration. And here the adventure is also in the logistics. Just to arrive in Skardu, we have to take a plane that had been canceled for 2 days due to bad weather. But this is not a part of the reality. We arrive here with 250 kilos of cargo.
Heavy, eh?
To climb 1,000-meter peaks in winter is completely different.
It's very difficult to be here, to feel quiet, to feel the safety.
You never know what you're going to get. It's not an easy thing to stomach.
The mountain will be completely isolated.
After 2 days in Skardu, staring up at the foothills of the Karakoram, it was time to go higher.
We decide to acclimatize, organizing a small expedition inside the big expedition. We will attempt a mountain that the name is Kosargang.
Knowing prior acclimatization would be key to our success, the three of us piled into a Jeep for a 2-hour trip up the end of the Karakoram Highway.
Without the proper acclimatization, you can die, or you die.
It felt good to be moving, though slightly uncertain of what lay ahead.
I think it's the white one behind these first trees.
Arriving at the trailhead in early morning sun, the only thing that lay between us and base camp was 5,000 feet of vertical gain. The porters took it in stride. After a quick break, they were kind enough to help us set up shop in an old sheep herder's pasture. All we had left to do was eat and rest. After 1 day in base camp, we decided to make our way up, uncertain of how high we were actually going.
The altitude reported in the map is 6,400 meters, but it's not sure.
We arrived in Camp 1 and spent 2 nights breathing thinner air before heading higher.
Yeah, the cook should be Italian cook or no, something from East, maybe Russian cook.
During the night, the temperature would plummet to minus 25. Wearing only light boots, we were forced to turn around just shy of the summit due to the threat of frostbite.
25,800 on the map, and as we calculate should be 6,000. With this the summit are behind, and now it's really fucking cold. We are doing just acclimatization, this is not our goal.
After a 6-hour descent that took us all the way to the valley bottom, we found ourselves comfortably back in Skardu. After our acclimatization mission and 2 days rest in Skardu, it was time to pack up. We all checked our emails for the last time, threw the bags into the Jeep, and headed for the military heliport. With 2,500 kilos of equipment, we would need 250 porters for a land approach. This manpower would burn thousands of liters of kerosene over the 15-day round-trip journey to base camp. Doing the math, it was far safer and much less environmentally impactful taking the helicopter. Completely isolated and totally wild, the flight at the Baltoro in the middle of winter was spectacular. We arrived at base camp and set up shop in a small valley that would be a river in the summertime. As evening approached, our cooks prepared a delicious meal of mutton. Bedding down under icy clear skies, our spirits were high, only to awaken to this. With storm clouds and high winds, we decided to go up anyway, forging our way through the icefall and finding the route on the first day. We found our way through countless seracs and over deep crevasses, finally finding a place to cache our gear. As we began our descent to base camp, the weather worsened. After 2 days' rest, Simone and Dennis started up again. I stayed in base camp due to minor illness. There were plenty of not-so-subtle reminders telling us where we were and the consequences of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. They found their way through the icefall to where we had cached our gear and made slow progress through deep snow over the next day. Bored in base camp and curious about their progress, I received a single-word text via sat phone. One word: cold. Normal people, smart people, wouldn't even go outside in weather like this. Unfortunately, I've never been accused of being either.
The condition, it looks more or less like we had in Makalu, maybe a little warmer and less wind. The only things that I want to ask you is, do you confirm that the first and the second should be the only day that the sun could appear, or half day, only maybe the second?
With the 36-hour weather window forecasted by Carl Gobel in Innsbruck, we set off into a storm after only 3 days of rest. 5.5 hours later, we arrived at Camp 1 with heavy legs, feeling our prior acclimatization mission. Settling into the VE25, we brewed tea and recounted the excitement of the day, including one significant crevasse fall by Dennis.
If you don't have rope, you go a lot down there.
There's about, okay, not 60 but 40 meters.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very deep crevasse.
Deniska! No!
I was shaken a little bit because when I fell down and made turn, it was a small fixation in the bottom. My eyes in the bottom.
As the sun set on G1, we settled in for a long, cold night.
Ice cream you take, yes? Ice cruise you take.
Yeah.
Day 2, we awoke to the same storm, but continued upward, hoping the conditions would get better. Unfortunately, they didn't. With the weather still bad, we arrived at Camp 2 tired and full of doubt.
Also because when we start from base camp, we didn't recover completely. It was only 3 days in base camp. We spent 4 days on the mountain and 3 days only in base camp. So this is the things that make me worry, that maybe we don't have power enough.
Just as Carl Gobble had forecasted, Day 3 dawned under calm skies. We began climbing to Camp 3.
We are very high. We can see a lot of mountain from here. Should be 6-9. And tonight at 3 a.m., 3 o'clock in the morning, we will start from here and we'll attempt the summit.
To put it lightly, our sleep was fitful. The sun greeted us over the shoulder of Gasherbrum 1 as we crested the 7,600-meter plateau. Its warmth was welcomed after the long, cold night of climbing. Every step became a challenge, a battle between mind and body. Body wanting to go down, mind willing us to go up. And suddenly, as if in a dream, we were there, on top of Gasherbrum 2, in the heart of winter. But getting up is only halfway. We began the descent into worsening weather. 14 hours after leaving, we arrived back at our tent, totally exhausted. With burnt lungs and cold feet, we tried to sleep, coughing through the night. The morning of day 5 dawned terribly. We packed up, hoping to make the descent all the way to base camp. We only made it to Camp 1. We rolled back into the VE-25 and lit the stoves, trying desperately to warm our hands and feet. The following morning, after our 5th night in freezing sleeping bags, we began the descent to base camp in terrible weather, the worst we'd seen yet. Our trail forced us to traverse under a huge slope of G5. Seracs looming overhead, we knew the slopes were now horribly wind-loaded from the storm. As our progress slowed, I felt in the pit of my stomach it was only a matter of time before something went terribly, terribly wrong. Unfortunately, it did. As a massive avalanche off the slopes of G5 overtook us, the world became chaotic and black.
Just tell me what happened. Big avalanche.
All 3 buried. Miraculously, we all survived. 6 arduous hours later, and 2 major crevasse falls, we walked the final 100 meters to base camp. Our cooks and staff were overjoyed to see us alive. The first winter ascent of Gasherbrum 2 at an end, it's impossible to say just how lucky we all feel simply to be alive.